Upstairs Downstairs is a kind of monument here in England. It was a series made in the 1970s, conceived of by two actresses, one of whom starred in it, Jean Marsh, and it was a sort of national monument, really, and it dealt with a noble aristocratic family living in Belgravia, and and their story and their doings from the point of view of the whole household, those from the parlour maid, from the driver to the housekeeper, the butler, the cook. The whole household was involved, and this family and their relations and children and so on. And it was really taken very much to the heart of the English television viewing public. The six-part series that I worked on, which is the subject of this CD, ended with the start of World War II in September 1939. So I'm sort of well within the whole area of my World at War series, Goodnight, Mr. Tom, lots of Anne Frank remembered that this whole, you know, just pre-war into the start of the Second World War and the events that did it. So in a way, I was in home territory. I had a bit of baggage with this assignment, which was the rather marvelous title music that was used for the original 1970s series. I felt it was important for the public that they did hear this music at the start, and this is the first track. It occurred to me that I could change this theme, not in its melody, which I wanted everyone to recognize, but in its feel. And the feel was dance band. Everyone was crazy about American jazz, American popular music, and they brought it over to Europe, and especially loved in England. A lot of Americans working here. So this sort of popular music, pop music, if that, and the whole dance rhythm, foxtrots, rumbas, sambas, seemed very important that there be this underpinning which establishes its period, but also it's a lot of fun. The other factor is that we had radio and we had gramophone, and you know, people collected it. People had the radio on or available to them. So I used every opportunity I could to say, well, should you think that there's a radio on, I thought I'd write a piece. But there are scenes where people go to a nightclub, or there's a spectacular section which is called the Masters and Servants Ball, which did actually happen, the one day a year when the masters and servants mingled, and this was a very important plot point. The CD was an opportunity to actually let you hear the full piece, the full rumba, the full foxtrot, you know, that really turned out to be fabulous to write and conduct, and just great fun to hear. So in between the music that is about the characters, about the situation, what we would call the incidental score, you know, there is what we call source music, and source music is, it's coming from a radio, it's coming from a record, someone's playing it on the piano. You see it. It has a function in the actual action of the film. I behaved as if I were Wagner, in a way, and I created leitmotifs. You know, something for each event or each idea. It was important that it's not just a tune for a character, though sometimes it did work out that way, but sort of what was his underlying character, what kind of person was he. I tried to write, you know, a 165 theme, which was really Lady Agnes's theme as well. So that was the first, and that was, you know, I tried to sort of implant certain things that were very English, certain shifts of key, modal chords. So it was a bit Ralph Vaughan Williamsy, it was a bit Butterworth, you know, Banks of Green Willow, that sort of quasi-folk folk feeling. So that was very important, and that pervaded with variation, you know, the whole series from beginning to end. Well, then we have her family as well. She's got a very sort of uptight husband, Lord Hallam. He was the one who brought in the whole political side of things. So there was really a lot of kind of dark and ominous music around the war. So this took me back to my kind of World at War character. Another interesting group of characters and group of themes concerned the butler and the cook, who are sort of in opposition to each other and all have dark secrets in their life. But they always, in their relationship with each other, have are always of a character. You know, they're never bland in their way. As we sort of go into the workers and the establishment, we musically drop a class, whereas we're talking Smetana and Glendlers and things like that. But as we start going into parlor maids and chauffeur and drivers and the people who really do the hands-on work in the household, the music gets more pop. You know, gets rather foxtrotty, or rather sort of music hall, rather English music hall, kind of George Formby-ish. One cue I called Fish and Chips. There's one little girl who has been adopted by the household and learns a German folk song. And one was suggested called O Lady Bird, arranged by Brahms. The Brahms arrangement, oddly enough, was rather bland, and so I thought, well, I'll rearrange the tune and make it more dramatic, because we were seeing her in a very dramatic context, and make it more Schubert-y in the way he would do something like the Earl King or something like that, and it had ominous things in the lyrics. So I rearranged that, and that's sung as it were by a little girl, this ladybird, just singing as part of it. She'd been rescued and she's at a boarding school.
Oh, ladybird, so far from home, your children cry, your children cry.
The family in Eden Place get involved in a particular charity, which is one that existed exclusively for a year in 1938 and 39, which was an attempt to rescue Jewish children from Nazi-occupied countries, as well as Germany, but Austria, Czech Republic, and Poland. The family get involved in doing this, and what it was that a deal was struck with the Nazis to send Jewish children to England if certain extremely complex bureaucratic things were gone through. Over 10,000 children got to England, and it was this charity that, and this story of what was called the Kindertransport, which was brought in to the second episode. The writer of the series, Heidi Thomas, had this inspired idea that instead of kind of very soulful music or music belonging to the children, that they would hear accompanying these scenes, which is basically their arrival at Liverpool Street Station in London. And that was the end of episode 2, with this highly emotional scene of the children arriving to this wonderful, moving hymn.